Hello, long time no see.
Yeah, hello. Okay.
Oh, I'm adding one item to the announcements. Um, it's just a little update on a camera thing that's relevant to our community. 368K.
What does that mean?
It means that yesterday, this company called Insta360, which makes cameras that films 360 videos,
Hmm.
they released an 8K camera. So the quality, because you're filming two sides, it's not 8K for one thing to see, but the tests show that it's much more usable than what we've been doing before. So it's going to be interesting to experiment with, especially now that YouTube is making a proper viewer for Vision.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah. So let's see who's joining us today.
Andrew, of course. There's our Andrew. Hello. How are you?
Hello, Andrew. So, Andrew, Leon will not be able to make it. He texted that he can't come, but he says, please tell Andrew that I like the new modifications, including the improved motion smoothing. So that's good.
That is good to know. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with this week's update, but it's not very flashy. It's just kind of like back end stuff and changes to what we already had. But I think it's good progress.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need right now. Well, we see who else is coming in. Hang on,
I know Mark's out of town. Mark's on vacation, right?
yeah, on proper vacation. No laptop allowed vacation.
You didn't do much vacation. You weren't with your family much at all. You were working the whole time, right, Frode?
No, it was mostly Edgar being ill that kind of meant we couldn't do the things we were planning to do. But yeah, we didn't get to do much vacationing. We went to a place called Team Lab Tokyo today, which is
Hmm.
kind of a immersive artistic experience. They're getting quite popular. You walk into a room and there's things dangling down and there's mirrors, and so that was kind of cool. And we saw a large life-size Gundam, the mech warrior thing. I was very excited by that. Um, I think they're kind of inspirational because when we put on the headset, I like to imagine it's not just our eyes, it's like our whole bodies become bionic. So I actually bought a little plastic model myself. I'll put it together in London.
Hmm. That's great. I'm reading Three Body Problem right now. I had watched the TV series that the book was based on. Now I'm reading the books. And it's interesting because it's written, a while back, right? It's about 10 years old, 12 years old. And a lot of it takes place in a VR game. And it's just fantastic. It's really so well done. When you and I were playing around with the spatial personas the other day, it almost reminds me of the way in which this person envisioned VR space. It was really quite amazing. It's a
Yeah.
Chinese writer.
You're watching the series as well, or only reading the book?
I already watched the series. Now I'm reading the book. I want to read the book.
Yeah, no, that's cool. So yeah, I'll put the agenda in here again. I guess we
Yes,
can.
Fabienne.
Mr. Fabian is coming. Just pasting one more time, make sure Fabienne gets the agenda. It is kind of cool what we're doing right here today. 3 continents. And, East Coast, West Coast, America land, Europe, and East Asia. It's just crazy that it works.
We were saying that back in the Moo days, we were like all of us playing Scrabble at 3 a.m, with people in Japan and Europe. It was it's just so freaky back in the early 90s, especially, right?
Yeah, even just a basic computer game, just it has, when you're playing with people all over the place, it's really quite a
Mhm.
thing.
It was
Um,
funny when I got to my first job. I got to my first job and I was in the English department and nobody liked computers except me. And I was so lonely there. But I found that if I stayed involved with my virtual friends, I had so many colleagues. So I didn't, the loneliness I think I would have felt without the net back then, I don't think I could have survived. It was those folks that I saw at night or early morning or afternoon playing in these spaces that kept me going. Listservs too, were part of it. So
Social is important, absolutely. Right. I'm not sure who else will be joining us. I think we can have a look at the agenda. You all have the link. So just briefly on VisionOS development, we had an update this week. It's worth mentioning a couple of things. One thing is in Author, it's too easy to accidentally select text. So the context menu, same as we have on iOS, the first item we have to put there now is deselect, excuse me, which is very odd, not something we thought we'd need. Other than that, there's a few practical issues, but it's going really well. And yeah, nothing else really to report today. But if you have a vision, if you have Author Reader, please do test and feedback, obviously. So Dene and I
hi,
did a
John.
spatial FaceTime thing this week. And yeah, Dene, do you want to comment on it?
Well, yeah, it's really quite interesting because it's it's a little freaky, right? Because you've got these heads that are not clearly presented. They're very virtual, right? So you're not completely here. And it is your persona that you took, yourself when you're holding up the headset. You have to take a picture of yourself and move your head around and all that stuff to kind of get a good perspective. But it looks pretty good, right? It looks pretty good. Um, and then you see your hands moving, right? And you can walk around and look at an object together. And so Frode was videotaping us. So I couldn't see him in the videotape because he's the one taping. But if somebody was with us, you would see 2 people communicating with each other in the space, pointing at the document, talking about the document. And it's funny because I was in the middle of finishing up the second section of the case study. And one of the things I asked for was to be able to work together with students and in kind of larger tutorial groups instead of just one-on-one. And we could do that with this. And I'm trying to figure out a way now to get my hands on enough headsets, Andrew, for the fall semester, so that we can, when I teach the spatial computing class, we can actually have these kind of 5 people events. We're only going to have 18 people in the class, so it could work out pretty well. But anyway, so yeah, I thought it was quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And Dini, you said something I found really insightful. It doesn't go into the uncanny valley. It kind of ignores it because you have a sense of presence, but it doesn't feel freaky in that sense. So that was really worthwhile.
Well, can I say something even freakier? So it's interesting because I grew up in a home that was a nurse that had been a funeral home by 2 cemeteries and in the middle of Texas and outside of Texas, right? So I had all this land behind us, but next to me was this cemetery, 2 cemeteries. And I lived in the old funeral home that had been servicing these cemeteries. And my mother had imagined herself as kind of a medium. And the things she would describe to me that she would see were these kind of disembodied heads and hands moving around the rooms and stuff. And she would communicate with these things. And, and I know it sounds weird, but she actually had these experiences in that house. And so when I saw us, Frode, I immediately thought of my mother and the way she explained the spirits that lived in our home. She had the house exorcised by a priest.
Great.
So, and that didn't seem to help much. I had my own experiences, but not that one.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah.
But when I saw, I was like, oh my Lord God, this is my mother would just have a heart attack if she saw this. Her
Yeah,
dreams have come true.
that is quite spooky.
So just
Yeah.
briefly on this, when I was, I would say, a kid or a teenager, at some point, like the light was shining in my bedroom just a certain way. And there is like this face in places kind of phenomenon when you see two dots and a line. Most people can't help but see your face. And I was not religious or a believer, but this was spooky. And basically, I noticed over the years that the more I watch, even though it's fiction or like documentary about hunting ghosts and whatnot, the more stuff like this I saw. And at some point, I don't know why, but I completely stopped looking at horror movies or documentaries about people looking in a haunted house. And since that moment, it's funny because when I look back, it's like there is a very direct correlation between how much of that content I was watching and how many things I was seeing. And yeah, it's if you're not prompted, I guess, for it, if you're not somehow expect to recognize such patterns, then you just don't goes all over. You don't see them.
Yeah, that's a good point. Talking of patterns, so that little thing there is live. This is the Insta360 X4, which came out yesterday. So I managed to find it in a Japanese store. The previous 360, one of the future of text we had was actually only recorded in 360. And it's really interesting. A 360 camera needs to have a sense of presence, I think. If you put it in a funny location where a human, sorry, I just got to plug it in while I'm talking. If you put it in a funny place, like the wrong height or at an odd place, it feels very strange to see it. I did an experiment with an interview once where I put the camera between me and the subject. It was actually Alan Kay. And it's a cool effect, but when you watch it, you feel that your own head is stuck there between these two people. It's very uncomfortable. So it's an interesting experience. And now that YouTube are making a native app for the Vision Pro, I look forward to seeing what this higher 8K quality will be in there. So it's in a way the opposite of what we're doing in the group because it's purely about the environment and it's purely passive, but it may be interesting to some extent. Anyway, something to experiment with. And the other thing from today here in Japan, I don't know if any of you know Gundam. It's a Japanese anime thing, huge exoskeletons. We went to see one of them. They have two here, near life size, absolutely freaking massive. Edgar wanted a toy. I bought one too because when we go into XR, I want us not to feel that it's just here. I want us to feel completely empowered. So the stuff that Fabian's been posting in Slack on, like the humane interface onto your hand and all these things, to use the whole thing is kind of nicely provocative. Any other announcements today from anyone?
I'm going to be in Montreal. I leave next Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the morning. I arrived that evening at 5:30. There's an event. It's a whole conference in honor of Bertrand Gervais, who was the director of Antida, which is a very famous lab in Quebec, area of Canada. And we've been partners for a long time, a lot of projects, my lab and his, and he's retiring after 10 years of being the Canadian Research Chair. And so there's a big kind of like celebration to say goodbye to him, and it's a symposium in his honor. So I'm going to give a talk, an invited talk there on Wednesday morning about the next, and I'll be talking about the VR integration that we're going to be doing, Andrew, which I'm excited about. But anyway, so yeah, so I'll be gone from Tuesday morning all the way till Saturday. So I won't be here next Wednesday.
Okay. Okay, good to know. Sounds like an
Rob, do you know
awesome
Bertrand?
prospect.
Rob, have you met Bertrand Juvet? Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
Where is he?
He's in Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal University,
No,
McGill.
he's at the University of Quebec in Montreal.
Okay.
You can. So Fabienne, I have to get my French back. I'll be speaking French all next week. It's been a while. I'll come back, maybe able to talk to you.
And I think actually in there you have to speak better French than even in France, because they were pretty strict about not any English word like weekend sneaking in and all this kind of thing. So
Oh, really?
good luck.
Yeah, yeah. I like these folks I've known a long time. They're very, very nice. But it's going to be, I can speak stalkingly today, but listening to them and responding when they speak quickly is going to be hard. But hopefully I'll get it usually by the fourth day, I'm okay.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Any other announcements from anybody else? Okay. Then, Dene, any further discussion on case studies?
Yes, I actually want to put my recap. I'm going to drop it into the chat here, in the Zoom chat. So I wrote that section on what I want. And then I had a recap that I'd like to share with you all. Let me pull this out so I can see the chat better. There we go.
Oh, that reminds me, I'm just posting a link to something adjacent to the 360, which is just very high quality normal video that I've been filming for anybody who wants to see. It was just in the chat. I forgot to click enter. Yeah, please put the link in, Dene.
I need to put it in the Slack channel because it's too long for the Zoom channel. So if you go into your Slack, I'm going to drop it into our Future of Text Lab, FT Lab space. And I'll share my screen with you.
Okay. Yeah, good idea.
Okay, so what you're looking at here, that whole section, I boiled down to this list. One computing device in any location I want to work. 360-degree environment, ability to see in front and around, ability to put objects wherever I want, multitasking functionality, a spotlight option to highlight one document or item at will in order to focus on it, but still leave the other items ready for the future. So there's maybe 3 or 4 things in front of me, but this one is the one that's spotlighted in some way. And the other ones are dimmed so that they're not in the way. Ability to save a scene. Oh, a seamless reading and writing experience that allows for marking up text, annotation. This is stuff we've already been talking about. Ability to save a scene so that all of my documents and other items are located in the same place they've been left once I log out. So I stop, I'm working, I stop, I come back, it's still there. So it's a kind of a general save motion. So I don't have to like put everything back again. Space sharing with other people. Of course, that's already happening with the persona. Control over aesthetic design of environment. I'd like to be able, I mean, Frode, when we were playing in the personas the other day, when I was playing back the video, the sound in the environment was, I couldn't even hear you, right? And I couldn't concentrate on the document because the environment was so pervasive, right? It was so overwhelming. But some people might like that. So having some ability to decorate the space as you will, within reason, right? We don't want to make it completely decorative, but option for leaving some items open to visitors, but locking down others. So let's imagine that I have some private documents I'm working on or a draft of something I don't want anyone to see until it's ready, but I invite you into my space. So some things can be locked and some things aren't. Ability to choose ways to interact. I can use my finger, use a stylus, I can use my keyboard, whatever I want. And then finally, a note mode that makes it possible for others to see comments and respond to them. This is part of the whole discussion that I have in that second section, which I dropped the draft of in the Slack channel a couple of days ago. And I'm still working on the next section, which is about what is currently available and what's left to be developed. So this is where I am with my case study currently.
First comment, of course, is guys, Dene is our prime academic use case person, but you're all also use case persons. I think this list here, Dene, is absolute perfection. And we need to, I think I should put it on our website as bullet points and hopefully invite people to discuss prioritizing and what they want to do with that, that is relevant or not relevant. If it's not relevant, we list somewhere else. Yes, Fabian?
So to the content of the list, to me, it's exciting and frustrating in the sense that I would argue most of those needs I've addressed at least once in one of my prototype. Not necessarily, far from perfectly, but I've tried some of those. So in a way, that's exciting for me. It's like I did not completely, I wasn't too crazy, I guess, in a bad way. What's frustrating though is first, most of them are, as you all know, poorly done in the sense is they are not efficient or reliable. Like I can show that they work, it's feasible basically, but maybe, for example, you can only manage 5 documents and not in high resolution. So that's one aspect. And the other aspect is they are very much like individual experiments. And I cannot just like bring them one by one together. Like one will break the next, like 99% sure. And I imagine I can already say that for most of them, having them individually feels good. It helps you. You can feel you're on the right path. But it's indeed when you start to combine them that it becomes powerful. And some of them, for example, I've done, but like super limited. Like, for example, multitasking. Like the most recent thing I've done was being able to control the WebXR page from the browser. So it's kind of multitasking, but you only have the browser. You don't really have apps, and those apps are from the itself. And I would argue, though, that for some of those, to do it reliably, like across all platform, is really, really like you need a ton of resources. So for those, I would say a couple of your own device or some of the platform you own, just as a way to kickstart the process. But like all platform is, yeah, it's really, usually it's just too much resources needed.
Right. Okay, I have comments on that too. First one is the fact that you built these things is phenomenal because of the importance of experiencing these things. And, in my journey with XR, so many things have changed that I haven't noted it down well, but of course, having an integrated environment is key. Now that I'm having a little bit of success with Author, being featured in the App Store and all that wonderful stuff, I'm spending more time on the little details, like what is in the context menu. But that's in a fully mature environment where I can actually do that. We're building this entirely from scratch. And as we'll talk about a little bit later today, a reminder of what we talked about on Monday a little bit on how we can move stuff around because one app won't be enough for everything, obviously. So the question is to reduce user friction, how much should we do in our world and how much should we leave for someone else to do? To try to do everything well.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think if you read the draft of my section where this comes from, I'm so infected. I want to say the word infected by the Moo experience because we were able to do so much independently, right? So I was a wizard in my own Moo. And I could give powers to each of you to do a certain amount of things. You could build your own space or dig a cave, as we would call it. You would have ability to make your own objects. You could build your own fireplace and have your animated fire going. I mean, all these things were done with ASCII art back in the day, right? And so, and you could leave things there, lock up your room, leave your objects out, if your room is unlocked so people can come and play with them, visit people in their own spaces and interact through text, right? So that was my world from about 92 to 2006. When I moved here, I gave up my Moo because I couldn't get the university to open up the ports for the server. And so that's a long time to be playing in that space. And so when I get into this space, I kind of want, I mean, that was 30 years ago. We were doing these things 30 years ago in these textual spaces on the net. It seems to me that there's the possibility we can do it today, 30 years later, in this more advanced technology. It's just a matter of figuring out the way to make that work. Bless you, bless you, bless you. Bless you. Yeah, the gophers. Oh God, Peter, I lived in those. That's how I did my dissertation research, was through gophers. Archie, Jughead, and Veronica. They were called back then. But yeah, so I think that it's not rocket science to envision that this here worked in 92, 93, and we can make it work in 2025 when this is due. So that's my premise. So the things I'm writing about are things I could do, 30 years ago. I defended my dissertation in a Moo in 1995, and it was the first and only one that's ever been done that way. And I had 50 people from around the world watching me defend my dissertation. And I still have the ASCII art for the auditorium that was built for the event by Jan Rumahumovec from Norway, by the way, Frode, and Cynthia Haynes from the United States.
Oh, Jan Holmevik, yeah.
Hmm?
It is in one of our books. Thank you for the reminder.
He's lovely. Mm-hmm.
So here's a crucial question, guys. So Dene's written this brilliant list that is very, very useful. I want to have it on our website as well as in Slack. I think these are the kinds of things I want that needs to positively fight. Should I write it on a Dene's Wish page, or should we put it in a what's the structure of this? Because hopefully the rest of the community will add to them over time, so it should be some kind of coherence to it.
Well, I like to say I'm the author of this first round. So put it as Dean, don't put a separate page, just put it in our site. So this is from Dene's case study. It's an excerpt from Dene's case study. Now respond to this. What else do you want?
Right.
I like to think of it, but let me just finish. I like to think of it as a way to get people thinking. Like, here's what she's saying. Now, what else is there? It's a way to trigger a conversation. But I should get credit for writing that because it's part of my case study.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm looking at is if you all go to our website and hang on a second. Okay, so the first link on our website is research questions and use cases, right? So it'll be in there somewhere. And here we have three things. The research questions, which are separate, they're done. Use cases, which is Dene's use cases, plus a basic thing of yeah, it goes to interactions to support the use cases. Maybe that's where it should go, actually.
Yeah, so let me ask you this. I'm looking at our website and there's so much on here now and I can't figure out where everything is. I'm looking, let me show you what I'm looking at. And maybe it can help me figure out the logic of this. Let me go back to where I started. Okay. This is the future of text, right? I mean, let me go back.
No.
Let me go. Wait. This is the future of, this is your future of text, right?
Uh-huh.
Here's all of this. I go to XR, right? That's us.
Not really. That's kind of an announcement. Future Text Lab is us. That's our meetings.
Where's that on this website?
No. It's not on this website. Where I put Andrew's code and everything is on the Future Text Lab. But if you click on Lab there on the left, in the menu on the left, and then you click on futuretextlab.info, that's where I put all the live stuff for us here.
I had that as a separate page, but there's no way to easy. Okay, all right. I couldn't figure out how to get from the main page to this page. Okay.
No, but this is a completely different website.
Yeah, I got that. Okay.
Yeah.
So use cases will be where it goes. You'll have the whole case study to put on here soon. I should have it finished this weekend.
Yeah, but if you okay, okay,
I'm sorry. Keep on.
no, don't worry. I'll share. I'll share. You can see, right?
Yeah.
So the logic of this Future Text Lab is on the top one, research questions and use cases. The research questions are these three Dene use questions, which are just perfect, simple. That's what we refer back to. So I'll go back a page. Under use cases, we have these so far, and I will bullet point them here and link to the full Dene article as well. And then below that, I'm trying to break it down into actual interactions. So while in the library, we should be able to open a document, change listing. These are mostly obvious. But this is where we should put, these are the things for Andrew to make magically happen, right? Annotation and note mapping came out of, and note making came out of last week a lot. So I think, you see, if you look at the top here, it links to all the different things, like document interactions and library interactions are both there. So maybe we should have something like environment interaction or something too. But anyway, Fabian, what's up?
So I'm not going to reply on how to do this, but on what I had in mind to use it for. So when I said I've done most of those experiments one way or another, maybe I'm overconfident, maybe not. And one way for me, of course, to check is to put one line, one experiment, or a couple of experiments. And I think it would be interesting to have then, for example, Dene to try them, to say, okay, but this is not at all what I had in mind, or I've tried this, which is better. So basically, the list of specs or needs or requirements, and next to it, my experiments, some of what Andrew has done, some of also Brendel has done, some of things that are totally unrelated even to XR, but could be useful. So basically, I imagine this kind of as a grid, and ideally at the end, like, oh, this one solution ticks 3 of those needs or all of those needs, or oh, I'm making a new prototype that address 5 of those needs or something like this. So basically one way to look at it, yes, but ideally to be able to comment both with solutions and then that Dene and others could reply in terms of shortcomings to such solutions.
I'm just going to write that down. Okay, I'll work on that. I'll work on making a structure for that for us and post that on Slack so we can build something. More on that today, Dene, or should we talk a bit on the symposium and planning and book?
Symposium would be great.
Okay.
So I met with the folks from the Murdoch on Friday. It was interesting because they've already given us permission to use the space. And I thought the talk was going to be about the use of the space, but it wasn't. I met with the CEO of Murdoch. And Murdoch sits on $2 billion worth of money they give out to nonprofits. So they give out money to, food banks and the symphony and all these different, or the university, my university. So they give out millions and millions of dollars, and they don't run out of money, right? They just have lots and lots of money. And so I met with the CEO, and I couldn't understand why I was meeting with her. Come to find out, she had worked at Microsoft as an executive and was in tech, really heavy in tech, loves programming, super much into tech, into computers. She just wanted to find out about the project. So I met with her for an hour and talked to her about what we were doing, the goals, going through the advisory committee, all the things that we're trying to achieve. We talked about the Apple Vision Pro. She wants to get one. We talked about, the ins and outs of it. And, I told her to go ahead and get it and to upgrade it to the most recent version. And anyway, it was a wonderful conversation. And I said, do I need to sign a contract for the space? And she said, oh, well, just contact Mike. He'll take care of it. So anyway, I've got the address and we're ready to put that on the invitation. So I'll start working on getting an invitation produced so we can send out to people that we really want to be here. So that's the update on that meeting. I thought that was really quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one thing we need to do is to decide because soon we're going to send out the invitations, who to invite. So I'm just opening a list here of the old stuff. 1 second. I decided to research a person and look this person up. So Michael Benedict, we should obviously invite, who Peter talks about and who book club it was. He seems to be active in the community still, even though he wrote a book a long time ago. So I guess he's a good one. So if you have any
He's
further
the author of cyberspace. That was the book club reading for Monday. Michael Benedict.
Yeah, exactly. So
Peter Heim is a person I recommend. He's written some articles. I also think Douglas Rushkoff. Some of you might know him.
Yeah, I know Rauschkoff. I've known him for quite a while. He's an interesting fellow. He kind of goes in and out of this. I can invite him.
He's been here before. I've had him here.
Oh, excellent. Very good.
Yes, he knows the university.
But guys, just even though we're just in the middle of our session, before next week, all of you, please send me one suggestion for someone to invite and one interaction you want to have in XR, okay? Excellent, good. Let's pretend that you'll remember. Anyway, so that's all quite good. 1 second. Yeah, and in terms of we look. I wanted to do a Twitter announcement. Just say, hey, what do you guys think? Who should we invite? So I played around with some graphics for generative AI, like a space person on an ocean because of cyberspace. And Fabian pointed out it's a little bit AI generated style. And Dene said it's not very academic. I agree with you both. But we'll do something like that soon. I'm working on some other things when I have time. I'll be back in the UK on Friday night. So then everything will be a bit normal and mock up a few things and see what you think. But I do think that our theme this year should be going beyond current understanding, meaning that a lot of the stuff we're working on now is great in the lab and it's completely relevant to put in. But when we go to solicit for the book and symposium, we should really push people, if they're interested, and say, okay, you think you know this, write your assumptions, but what do you think could lie a bit further than that? Be a bit more provocative. So that's the thinking around that. It shouldn't just be extended cognition because we did that last year. So this builds on it. And then just briefly before we go into Andrew's into the real reason for today, on Monday we talked a little bit about what I jokingly, instead of PDF, called SDF or spatial document format. And we'll keep that conversation going, but as it was made very clear on Monday by all of us, we're not trying to invent a new document format. We're trying to invent an approach of using standards that exist, such as what is it Randall was talking about? Was it UDF or something? Universal Scene Description, USD? Yeah, USD.
Yes, USD.
Yeah, how to plug that in, how to use that with the JSON that Andrew and Fabian are working on. And Fabian, Dene, and I are looking into the proposal of making your work a little bit more real in this, but we have to wait for some other feedback. So we are not ignoring. We're very excited by all of that, but complications, right? So we'll talk more about that later, but as you all know, I want, at the end of the day, if a document has metadata, it should be at the back, it should be in visual meta. It's just too dangerous to lose things, and it needs to be super, super open. You know, that's one of the benefits of visual meta. Anybody can just read it with their own eyes. And that's it. Unless anyone has any point on that, I think we can move straight into Andrew World.
We love Andrew World.
So the link is, as usual, on futuretext.info. So if you have that in your headset already, it should be a reload page and click away.
I'm trying to get some better lighting over here because it's a wonderful day outside, which means all my lighting is backlit and I'm just a silhouette.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm
That's
to
not
add some really important stuff that have been sort of falling behind. So the two main things, there's been lots of like little stuff, but the two main ones is that the pointer system now works totally differently. It was just too frustrating having it always just sort of shake. And I needed a new system that doesn't fall victim to the nuances of the hand tracking. So I originally looked into getting the sort of pointer system to match the headset system, so tap into that. But Dene and I had a really good conversation about it, and we realized that you want the software to be consistent. So if you have it in the Vision working with sort of the eye and the hand tracking, and then in the Quest working totally differently, people won't be able to sort of go between headsets. Generally, software, even if it's multi-platform, acts the same on every platform, at least as far as they can. So I moved away from that a bit and tried designing our own system that's based on the best of both. We know that the eye tracking in the Vision is amazing, but it's not that great for like really fine selection. And since we have text, that would be a big problem. So test it out. It now doesn't care about the rotation of your hand. So you can have your hand in sort of any orientation. When you first start the point gesture, it chooses the direction you're facing as kind of the intended direction, and then moving your hand around moves the cursor on almost a slightly curved plane in the direction you were first looking. And it's a lot smoother and it responds almost instantly as opposed to sort of elastic smoothing we had before.
Oh, right.
okay. So
And then yeah, what was it?
no, I was just going to say, so I just wave my hand about, nothing happens, as it should be. I make the gun thing, and I get, yeah, that yeah, that is night and day. And also, you made the little line come in immediately and then disappear.
I think that may have been coincidence, but I can do that.
No,
It just
no,
comes in if you haven't pointed at anything for a while.
it's yeah, and that's it. That's what's cool about it. Yeah, yeah, that this uh, yeah, the actual selection is night and day. This is what I've been quietly waiting for because I know you've had a lot of priorities. So I'm glad you did this. This is
Yeah.
actually amazing. By the way, being in a hotel, sitting in front of a mirror, because there's no other place to sit, means that the Vision Pro thinks that there's another human in front of me. So even in
Oh,
WebXR, I'm ghosting and I see myself. It's not not the best experience.
ooh. The second thing you guys won't notice right away, but I finally got around to optimizing the Troika tax system. So you can now stack many, many, many documents without just lagging the whole thing to Kingdom Come, which is very nice.
Yeah, I mean, now it's at the point where I can give you proper feedback. And hang on, I'm going to record a bit in here. The way it looks, 1 second. With the layering, so I remembered to do the long press on here for the library, which I'd kind of forgotten about. So I'm now opening a new. So now I have 3 layers this way. That's interesting. Can you tell me the logic of that, please?
Yeah, so there's kind of two things to it. I haven't given up on the snap distances. Those are coming at some point once the more important stuff drops off. Um, but I was playing with randomizing the offset just slightly relative to the plane to kind of give it more visual depth. Um, and I liked the effect, so I kept it. It was very easy to implement. So if people are like, "That's awful, take it away," I can. Um, but it also, as a nice little bonus, helps avoid some Z clipping issues with the text. So even though a user would not want to do this, they can stack two different texts on top of each other, and then of course you're trying to point at both at once, and because they're in the exact same Z index, the headset really doesn't know which one you want, so it kind of switches between them both really fast. Um, of course, that's kind of user error because why would you stack them on top of each other? But this also kind of avoids that issue.
So the way
Andrew,
this,
can I ask can I ask a question? I can't, I'm actually on the screen with the sphere and it's telling me that WebXR is not available.
It sounds like you had it working before, right?
Yeah,
Did you
for
turn off WebXR as an experimental mode
not at
in the headset?
all.
may
Not that I
have done
know
it.
of.
Yeah, the OS update may have done that on your behalf. So
Okay,
you may need to go and do that again.
okay.
For some reason, it stopped accepting input. So Dini, one of the things you talked about last week was to be able to take text out and put it somewhere from a document.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting thing. So I'm now in Reader for Mac. You can select text to spacebar and it loads that text up in a separate window. I'm trying to do that also in Vision. However, in the environment here, the language you used in your list was really nice. You said a focus mode. So Andrew, what do you think about that? To have a way where you look at, I'm saying all these things now. If I could indicate one item and do an action, so it would then come at a predefined comfortable reading distance, maybe with a background. So if there's something behind it, it's not transparent. So I do what I want, and then I do an action for it to go back again, like a float or focus mode and go back. What do you think?
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. To use our terminology, say that would be a snap distance. Um, and I like the idea of adding a background to it. Say I've been treating our current distance as snap distance 1, but say what if we turn that into like that's the middle snap distance where you can comfortably see it, but you're not trying to focus on it. Snap distance 1 is the one that's right up close to you for just like focusing. And then say like a snap distance 3 is further off. They're faded, so they're not very distracting, but you can tell there's something there in case you need to grab it.
Yeah, Dini, that makes sense to me. How does that sound to you?
Sounds great.
That might be good to work on this week. I could focus on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
because now we're at the point where I feel we have a play space. Let's call it that for fun rather than workspace. And that we can now try to make it useful. Yeah. But by the way, while we're talking about distances, so I have sent, hang on, before I misspeak here, let me just check. Yeah, so Fabian, Dene, and Rob, I have sent a video to you in normal messages, and it was shot on the headset, not on the headset, on the phone. It was shot for the headset. It's really, really interesting how the stereoscopic visual effect works. I think that's becoming more and more relevant now that we have spacing in XR. So when I send you the messages, please look at them when you're on the headset, open and just have a look. It would be nice if you can see it as well, Andrew, when you're with Dini and the headset is there.
I'm enabling my WebXR, so just give me a second. I'm catching back up.
To talk about that while Dini is doing the settings, during this trip, I've taken a surprisingly large amount of spatial video of everything. And when looking back on it, the fact that there is that real world depth effect, it may not make it as artistic and all of that stuff, but it makes it so much more there. It really, really is bizarre how, you know, they have that in the launch video for the Vision, they have an adult getting down on his knees to film a family with the headset, which looks absolutely ridiculous. But you know, you can do it with a phone too. The effect is absolutely insane. So anyway, it would be good if we have more chat on that.
So what's it like walking around Japan with the headset on with your family? Does that, you get a lot of attention for that?
I
A lot
don't
of people
walk around.
watching you?
I don't walk around with it. I very rarely film using the headset. I usually film with the phone, but I have been at the odd cafe and also on the flights. No real attention. I think just the whole headset thing is become quite normalized. People may not know that this is the Apple one. Some people do.
Are there other people doing it then? So you're not the only one on the flight with the headset on?
I have not seen anyone else.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess my question is, are people, does it elicit attention when you do that? Are people asking you questions? Are they curious, asking why you're doing that? Do they ask what it is?
Well, it's very odd. I mean, China, Beijing specifically, is extremely technologically advanced. It makes Europe look like you know, like living in some kind of a backwater. And the speed of the internet and the hotel here is absolutely insane. Our video from Monday uploaded in 2 to 3 minutes rather than 2 hours. But that kind of stuff. When I was in Starbucks now to get my little coffee to stay awake from you guys, this one, um, I had just bought this Insta 360 camera that I mentioned, and I was putting the pieces together on the table, waiting for my drink. And then the young girl serving behind the counter was very interested by this. You know, so I had to explain, oh, it's the 4. Oh, really? So, you know, that was something that I was surprised that a random person would notice. So a lot of these technologies are much more normalized than relatively recently. It's quite interesting. And one more thing, when I talk to old friends whom I know intimately and who are very quick at criticizing me, as they should be, they say, oh, the headset, you know, people shouldn't be isolated being in their headset all day and all of that. So of course I say the thing we say, which is, of course not. You should use different devices and you should be out of it. But when you need a thinking space, you should be in here. It really brings it home to me how important our work is. I see our work above everything as being evangelizing the fact that you can work in this. And we need to make it really, really effective so it doesn't just become a playpen.
I want to say that I heard the same criticism about reading books as a child. I even had a boyfriend grab a book out of my hand. I was reading Emma. a Jane Austen in the car when we were all on a trip together, and he just grabbed that out of my hand and threw it out the window. And he said, "You're not paying attention to me." And he was driving, right? But I've had my parents, I mean, I've had lots of people say to me, "Oh, you're too engrossed in your book. You're a bookworm. You know, it's you're too isolated." In fact, that was a huge criticism about reading privately, right? Back in the 1800s, 1900s. And so we're just circling back to that same idea. But I do think it's important that we are together. So I can read alone, but I can also have a book club. So now we have the headset for myself, but I can also invite you in. That's important.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I absolutely fully agree. And to kind of go back to what Andrew has shown us today, I feel apart from when it didn't work, which I think was probably a vision interface thing, we have an environment that is worth criticizing now, not on the detail, but on the big thing, which is amazing. Um, it's it's so cool having it in a window over there.
Frode, if I could get a quick clarifying question when you said it stopped working, did it just lose finger tracking and everything else was still there, or did the whole thing just freeze and shut down?
Not the whole thing. It just didn't do interactions. So I
Oh, like it still had the hands, but the pinch wasn't working?
think that's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I have had that occasionally on my end, and I'll just restart my headset and it gets better. But if you're having it on the Vision, it might be something else. So I'll keep that in mind next time I encounter it.
We probably want to really focus on the, okay, so I'm trying to close a window that's down here, has a close dialogue. So I do the pointing gesture. Oh, okay, let me reload the page and go back in. Hello world, where are you? You guys are still here, right?
Yes, we're watching you.
That's exciting. I am watching fog with a little bit of myself because it thinks it's a person, but no data. Let me reload again. Ah, here we go. Okay, so on the left here we have oh, hang on. Oh, yeah. So the thing about the pointing, sticking to the first seen hand, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Oh, and also another thing, Andrew, that I think would be useful now is the little bar we have. If that's, I don't think it should be a bar anymore because it's too often in a table or the wrong thing when I'm at a desk. And right now I can't reach, yeah, okay, I can barely reach it. What I think maybe we should do is when you touch this, maybe it extends from the hand that has it, so it's you literally can move it anywhere you want. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. So just kind of like have it stuck to the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do that. It'll be a little bit shaky because once again, we're dealing with hand tracking, but
But
that's okay.
maybe you can do a different kind of smoothing then.
Also, if you're ever having it, yeah, then it wouldn't match the hand, so it'd look weird. But we can experiment with it totally.
Well,
If you're ever dealing with it in the desk, I know this isn't like intuitive, but if you look further up and open it, it'll be like closer to you. If you're
well,
looking down, it tries to position it the same distance every time. So if you look down, it'll go further into the ground. And that's of course not great, but
how about this then?
temporary fix.
Yeah, no, that's what I've had to do, but that makes me think, how about that the spawn distance be based on the height of your head, not where you're looking. So it'll be at the height of your head, but a little lower down. And it'll be a certain amount in front of you, like an arm, half an arm's length, something to experiment on.
Yeah, totally. I think it was the way it was because we wanted like motion gestures, so it's like the same position every time. So based on like where you're looking, you can always find it. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, just have it almost like a HUD kind of distance, rather than too far down.
Yeah, and so far we really don't have much info in there.
Yeah.
It's useful to have because like, we've got some things like debug mode and the slider distance, but it's not doesn't have as much as we originally thought we would.
So
Yeah.
what do you
I
guys think?
don't know if I'll get to it this week, but I'll try to like have it attached to the hand separately.
Okay, yeah, either that or just have it spawn at a minimum down distance. How about that?
Okay, I'll do that first then because that's easier to implement.
Okay. So guys, what do you think of having the spawn be in the library rather than in the documents? Because right now you have to long press the big sphere to go to the library. So maybe we start in the library.
We do start in the library.
You do.
When I press,
We
when
start
I
with all
long
the
press,
documents.
when I long press the dot, then it changes. What does that do?
Yes. So the library is where you see the different documents, so you can select one.
Okay, hang on. Maybe because we're dealing with reference sections, it all looks like a library in a way, So let me just be in it and
Okay, yeah, that's fair. The library is the darker space.
don't say that in front of Peter. The library is the light space. Okay,
Yes, it has a darker gray background.
okay. Enter VR. Allow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
because we
no.
don't have a default document anymore, so
It,
you get to pick one from the library.
so in my experience now, when I just enter with a reloaded, what I see on the left is actually, you know what? I'm going to try to share screen with you guys. That seemed to be very useful last time. Because then we can all discuss what we're saying together. Okay, that wasn't very useful. I shared screen, but then I couldn't see you guys to put it on here. Here we go. Sharing screen. Now you can see this, and this, and this, and this. That was very 1980s, wasn't it? Right. You can't see, right?
Yes, we can see. We're like
Yes, we can.
reacting with
Mhm.
thumbs up, but you can't see us.
I cannot. Right, so let me enter the VR world. And hang on, first of all, okay, I'm going to go in and out again because that doesn't seem to be basic. So refresh, reload. Okay, enter VR. Hello, allow. Here we are. So I'm in a light gray, and this is what I see. What is this?
So
This
this
looks
is the darker gray. This is the library.
okay, but when I do this now, okay, that is the lighter gray. Okay, so there's nothing here unless I put
Right,
something here,
because
which makes complete sense.
yeah.
By the way, your animation is really lovely. So now I'm going to open narrative and hypertext, tap on it. Okay, I've kind of lost tracking. No, there it is. There's a bar, narrative and hypertext, right. So here I have this, and it's a bit far. I'm going to make it there. Okay, guys, what do you think of when you first open a document, it starts in where the focus space would be. That makes sense, right? Rather than far away.
For the focus space, you'd only want one at a time, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So would
Yeah,
you'd start the new one in the focus space, but then if you choose another one, it swaps them out and like pushes the old document into the reading distance or
Can
the
I make a
whatever the
suggestion?
current snap distance is.
yeah,
What I'm
absolutely.
Can I make a suggestion? So I'm thinking about how I work on the desktop, right? I open up 3 documents and I put them on my desktop, and they're all the same. Nothing's highlighted. They're all the same. I click on one to work with it. The other 2 go back and dim, right? So I don't want to click on something and it becomes a spotlight. I want to pull something up on the desktop or this in the scene, or as we're going to call it, have them all laid out the way I want it so I can see they're all there. Then I evoke the one I want to work with, right? And make that the focus.
Hang on. Let me do that while you, okay, so we're in here, we have stuff in the room. So I now, okay, I think there's a hand tracking lost. Okay, it's back. So now I'm just going to find this one. I like it, so click. So here it's opened up here. See, that makes sense. I think this should open up. Dene, I'm not sure if I'm contradicting you. I'm a little confused. So if you think I didn't listen to you, I did, but I'm just very confused. So
She
having
just stepped away. I think you guys are talking about the same thing though.
okay. So I think what would make sense is whatever I've chosen to read now is what I've chosen to read, meaning it really should be as this one is here, beautiful, but with a background, so I can actually, with a rectangular background, read it properly. And then if I go here, excuse me, and open another one, come on. That should now be in this space, and that the previous one should be stepped back one.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good idea. I'll try to add that with the focus distance.
Another thing is in this library, I don't think tapping here should open it because it's too hard to kind of hold here and then read on the right. The abstract, I think it would be nice if you have to go over here to like tap on an underlined heading or something, title. What do you guys think?
It's kind of hard to move the cursor over there though without accidentally highlighting another document. That might just make it more frustrating. But what would tapping it do instead? Just nothing? Or
Okay, well, let's put it this way. Oh, this is a great one. Okay, well, first of all, this is a bit too wide, the text. We live in a time of da da da. That's a bit too wide. But okay, so when I open this, I think we're at a stage now where instead of just saying references, we should open up at least the abstract to
yeah, so
have
the
that.
abstract is what's being previewed.
Yes.
I was planning on working on actual like document reading soon. But then also we've got the focus distance. Not to say I can't do both, but I can't necessarily do both in the same week.
Dini, what's your preference? Focus distance or document reading? The reason it came up, I think you stepped away for a quick second, is when tapping on an article, I think it would be really nice if what opens in the reading space is the abstract, not the references. Because the abstract in the library is a bit unwieldy. I don't know, what do you think should happen when you tap in the library?
So imagine that I bring up my library, which is the list of references, right? That's call it the inventory, not references. The inventory of my library comes up. I decide I want to read the article by Mark Bernstein.
Hang on a second, just I need to follow you. Are we talking about in the library area now?
I'm imagining I'm sitting down at my desk. Let's start from the very beginning. I'm sitting down and I'm going to work with my documents. I pull up my inventory in alpha order by author of my library contents, my inventory. I'll look at them from A to Z, and I decide I want to read Bernstein. I tap on it and pull it out. I also want to read the other Bernstein, pull that out, right? And I'm pulling out the document, not the abstract, but the whole document. I'm pulling it out. I don't want to just look at the abstract when I'm working in my library. And if I'm trying to figure out what something is, then I'll just highlight the abstract to read it. Do I really want to read that? Then I'll read that in the document, put the document back.
So in the paradigm of how it is now, the way you would do it to make sure we're all talking about the same thing is you go through your list of documents in the library and you tap on one, it opens and the library closes. So we will have to decide what is presented. I agree with you, you open the whole document, but we need to decide on an initial view. For the sake of discussion right now, let's say it is the abstract and then you do something to see everything, just for simplicity. And then you go to the library, open a second one. And that means the first document you've opened, unless you moved it to the side, gets moved back, away from you. So if you open all three without doing anything, they're just getting staggered further and further away. Then you can choose where to put them, and you can leave them as abstracts, or you can go to references, or you can read the full text for each of them. And when you read the full text,
What I would prefer is not to have the library go away. I'd want to move it out of the way. So let's imagine the library shows up. Here's a list of all the documents in my library. I tap on one and bring it off to the side. It's the whole document. I take the library contents, the list, move it over here, move the document in front of me. I start to read the abstract and I go, you know what? I think I probably ought to read that other article that Bernstein wrote. I turn over here, tap that document, pull it next to the one I'm reading, and they're side by side.
well, that's a different. That's a
well,
different.
then I'm looking at them and going, I'm going to focus on this one first. So I tap on focus. This one becomes the one that's, brighter. This one dims. And I can toggle back and forth between them. Or I can leave them both side by side, totally visible.
So that's a slightly different paradigm because we have a library paradigm now, of course. I would argue for keeping the current paradigm because the space, I think, can get very cluttered very quickly. So I do agree that it's really important to be able to open a document super quick and to put it where you want. However, one of the interesting things I think we need to work on is how to hide information as well as show it. And I could imagine that as we work with the library, we can have really amazing views in there. So I could imagine when you're in the library, pretty much your entire field of view is used. Let's say it's a citation tree or something. So when you open a document, I do believe that it's really useful for the library then to be hidden. Now, at some point, we may very well find a way to keep it usefully visible, either as a small thing or as in the background somehow. But either way, whatever we decide on that, once you are in the reading view, to be able to choose how to highlight, how to put things next to each other, and how to read them is absolutely going to have to be one of our near priorities. So let's for now not focus on what we disagree on, but what we really agree on is the having multiple documents and to read them. So, Dene, what you would like is to have you had a chance? I know you've tried Author, I think, but have you also tried Reader in Vision?
Not yet.
Okay, so in Reader, one of the functions is you can see 1 page, 2 pages, or all of them, right? It has a maximum width, but
Yes.
and then it's actually really easy to scroll back and forth. So let's say Andrew has all the facilities available to have reading in XR. You should be able to open your document to, well, actually, here's a very important. Dene, would you like it to be based on PDF page by page, or would you like it to be based on the HTML and have it scrolling? That's an important thing to decide on first.
I thought we decided we're going to do PDFs right now.
Well, we are adhering to the academics having a PDF library, absolutely no question, but we're also making the assumption that we have perfect metadata, because perfect metadata can be made available. So I am perfectly happy to go with PDFs, but the fact that Andrew already has the abstract, which is really nice, and it's shown as text and not PDF. That's why I'm wondering, for you in an ideal setting, not necessarily what we can do now, how would you prefer to read it?
Well, when I say me, I'm imagining my colleagues, you know, like I'm representing a whole lot of people. I would be weird to be somebody with, I'm unique in that I would probably have web pages. My colleagues across the university would not have web pages. So if I want to reach a larger audience right now with this project, I would say that I would want it to be PDFs at the moment.
Okay, that's reasonable.
I mean, I would prefer word non-PDFs because I friggin' hate them so much. But I'm also representing a whole class of workers,
Yeah,
knowledge workers.
no, absolutely. So
So
we are going to use HTML in some places or plain text. Hi, Brandel. Please, Brandel, if you have a chance, go to Future Text Lab, find the latest demo and have a look. Andrew's done some really great work that we're going through right now. And what we're discussing at this particular point in time is when you open a document from your library, from your collection, what you should initially see. Right now, it takes you to the reference section because that's what we've had to work on. However, when you're in the library, you can also see the abstract. So, Dene, while you're in the library and you go through your documents, as now the abstract is on the side, that is useful, right, for what you're representing.
well, I mean, I want to be able to pick the abstract, but I want the article out. I want to go to the library, pull out the entire document.
Yeah. All I mean is, right now when you're in the library and you kind of point up and down and the abstract shows, that in itself is useful for these people, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So Andrew, what I would like you to do then for the abstract, make it about half width because it's actually really long now. So you have to point your hand there and read. So if you could, that would be really good. Okay.
So that's a good point.
So when we then tap to open into the reading view, that we then need to okay, so having it as a given that forgetting technological constraints, the human constraint is we have to show PDF. So Dene, showing a PDF, would you like to show a single page, two-page spread, many page spread? And would you like there to be additional information around the document, such as one of our designs where you have the PDF in the center, 1 or 2 pages, but you have the references as plain text on the side, so they're easily accessible. What would you like the initial view to be?
So I imagine opening up the PDF. So I tap the list, pull up my document, and it sits there. And then I decide what I want to do with it. So I want to open up 2 or 3 pages, read the abstract, close it back, open it up, just go straight to the references, right? So I want to have control over what I look at, just like I do in the real life.
So if I could jump in really quick, I've got like a clarifying thing I want to see between you guys. Since we are using PDFs, but we're essentially reading the HTML version of it, we can have the page breaks wherever we want. They're not at a set point. So Dene, when you say that your colleagues will want to read PDFs, what I hear is they want to see constrained pages. Is that the same thing? Because I don't think they care what format it is. They just want to see like it needs to look like a piece of paper to them.
I
And
imagine
not
they
just
do.
scroll forever.
Yeah, I imagine they do.
Okay. Yeah,
I
so
mean,
the cool thing that we
can I say this?
Oh yeah.
I like to think at some point we can get rid of constrained spaces.
Mhm.
I don't want constrained spaces myself. I do want page numbers. I want
Mhm.
things to be or I want things to be findable in some way, which is what page numbers do. But I'm imagining my colleagues are going to have PDFs they're going to want to access. So they come up and they look like paper because we need those damn breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
so
Just breadcrumbing.
if we are talking just putting in a constrained like visual piece of paper, that's totally fine. That's on track with what we're doing. If we're talking about going back and reading specifically a .pdf and having it render the same, that was something that we left a long time ago. So if we're trying to go back to that, we can, but like it would be stepping back quite a ways. I just want to clarify between those two.
Peter's going to want to talk, but let me just answer that question. I'll be quiet. I'm imagining, let's say, Andrew, let's say Sue Peabody, whom you know, history. We've talked her into going into the virtual reality world, and she's got a headset and she's going to read now. She's got her library of her documents. They look like they're PDFs, but they don't have to look like PDFs when we render them in the world. They just need to have like a page constraint for her because she's not going to know what to do with text floating in the world. It'll freak her out.
So we want .pdfs again.
Well, what are you currently using?
We're using .html exports of PDFs.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it looks like a page, that's fine. She won't know any difference.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. Are we talking like we just care about visually the end result, or we need to be able to import a .pdf?
As long as she doesn't have to do any conversion herself, she thinks she's looking at the PDF that's on her desktop.
I think we might be talking past each other.
Yeah,
It's
we are
okay.
talking past
We
each
can
other.
chat. We can chat some other time about it. There's definitely a programming nuance to this that I need to kind of narrow down.
So also before Peter, on this very important point, this is also the difference between the reality we have to deliver now and the ideal academia we want to develop. So at some point we want to do both. There's no question about that. When we've done the basics, we want to reinvent this, scholarly communication. There's no question. So what is in the Sloan pitch that was approved was the user's own PDFs in XR. That's really, really crucial. So we have to render them at some point. However, and Dene, you gotta make sure I'm not talking rubbish here. In the library, of course, there is no PDF. It's just a list of documents in text, but it will conceptually soon be their own. So it's still their documents. And in the library, we will have fantastic interactions developing, seeing citations and all of that stuff. So that fulfills the criteria. When you go into the reading mode, ultimately, we want to have what Dini talked about last week. I'm very, very excited about that too. You have what looks like a PDF, but can instantly be just plain text, HTML style, depending on what you as the user want. You can tear bits off, put them wherever you want. They will know where they came from, and you can bring back where they came from on demand and so on. Like a freely Ted Nelson gone mad kind of environment with post-its everywhere, so to speak. For
Yeah.
what we're talking about now, the most important thing we need to do is, I believe, the theater of one of these people, that history person, putting on the headset, seeing documents that at least look like theirs in the sense, they haven't actually synced yet, but they understand it's academic documents. And when they open a single document, they find it a bit useful. So I suggest we do a hybrid solution where we show the abstract to begin with, because that's in Dene's focus area. I think the next thing we should do for next week should be the focus area. Because if we have a useful focus area for reading the abstract and an instant interaction to see the rest of the documents, that in itself is huge, right? Because let's imagine our discussions might go down the route that XR is really for the library, it's not for reading yet. So we spend a lot of time in the library doing all these citation things. They still want to be able to see the documents. So Dene, should we tell Andrew that for next week, you in the library, click on a document, it opens, you get the abstract title. It's got a rectangle behind it, so that if there's anything behind it, doesn't matter, you can read it. And we put an underline under the title or an icon. Right now, it doesn't matter. That will, in the near future, mean load the PDF of this. Is that a good next step?
Well, I guess that sounds fine. I guess what I was saying is I wanted the whole document opened up so and then I could access the abstract and the references. So, but if you think it's better to start with the abstract, that's fine.
Oh, okay. Well, how about this then? Open up the PDF, show the first page, and let the user just tap through it, the worst interaction possible, but for the sake of argument, so they can have it, they can move it about. And if that works well, then we can look at having multiple pages and tearing out. So, okay.
Yeah.
Dene, you're pulling back in a very good way. Let's absolutely do that.
And I do want to respond to you, Andrew. So I'm imagining that going back to Sue, who I like a lot, right? And I respect. She's, her documents won't be PDF, won't be HTML. But I'm imagining there's going to be some way that we can provide her a migration tool, like render your PDFs for VR.
Right, that would be the hope, and I believe that's supposed to happen through the reader software at some point. Or at least that was the idea.
Okay, the way that I see that particular and important issue is that our initial group user group is actually ACM hypertext members. So yes, we want academic other colleagues for sure, but the number one user group is ACM. They can provide us with HTML of the documents of any modern document. So we do have it, and it is the same document. But
yeah, and we're matching their style right now. So when I search for specific tags, I'm using their tagging.
Oops.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, because we obviously have to be on the balance here of reality versus ideal. And if we can really demonstrate to such colleagues that not having them in the normal PDF, but it's the same data is actually useful to them, that's a win. Oh, also really importantly, Dene, you mentioned page numbers. One of Doug Engelbart's key things was high resolution addressability. So what he had in his earlier documents, what he called purple numbers, because they were literally purple, they would be at every paragraph. I told him that you could make a link, make each one of those a link to an invisible anchor at the beginning of the paragraph, which means that when you come across a purple number, if you click to copy that link, that becomes a link to itself. So in our world, we absolutely want to have addressability at least to paragraph level, if not finer. So page numbers are a really good transition from paper, so to speak. But high resolution addressing is absolutely crucial, yes. Now, Peter.
Peter's had his hand up a very long time. Thank you, Peter.
Yes, you can take your hand down. You must be losing blood.
Yes, much better. Starting to get a little numb there. So what I'm thinking as we're going through this discussion is that a lot of what I'm working with most recently doesn't consist of PDF papers. I've been working a lot with books that aren't going to get visual meta in them. Then I started thinking that what I'd really like to have is naked visual meta. Just imagine a file where the visual meta is what matters, and I'm creating the visual meta off of one or more separate references that are books, not necessarily papers. And what I want to be capturing in the visual meta is the knowledge graph of how those sources are connected to each other. For instance, I might want to have an entry for the concept of utilidors, which were the underground corridors at Disney World. And then I want to add an assertion that in the book, Walt's Apprentice, Dick Nunes asserts that they were his idea. Now, that's not going to be a part of the book proper, but it should be able to live as a block of standalone visual meta, and then we can have software that could grab multiple visual meta files. That's why I suggested in the chat a while back, it would be really nice if there was something along the lines of the font DA mover to be able to transfer assertions in visual meta from one visual meta document to another visual meta document. So visual meta, I think, should be elevated more, and instead of being so obsessed with the PDF artifact that will hopefully eventually come with visual meta attached, we should try to put visual meta a little bit more front and center in what we're doing.
Well, thank you for that, Peter. I owe you a beer and a glass of wine and a whiskey. One thing I've looked at before was to have a, sorry to use that horrible word, but a PDF represent a book. And that was just for use in Reader, where the book doesn't exist in our collection. It may be a paper book, but we get the metadata from the onlines, Google Books or whatever, put it onto PDF to pretend, so we can do at least the put it in a graph kind of thing. But all of that is really important for discussion, but not for this for now, because our primary data is the ACM papers. So that's more of a Monday discussion, but I'm definitely passionately for doing something like that.
Yeah, I wanted to get out there before it slipped my mind, and I might not come back to it for another month or two. So I wanted to get on the record now.
Yeah, that's good. Talking of records, Brandel, just really briefly, I've texted you and Dene and Rob, Fabian, a few videos from here. They are stereo videos that look really good on the headset, so I hope you have a chance to see them. The one of the lizard was in a pet store. You haven't seen it, Rob?
I've seen it, but it doesn't look like 3D in the Vision Pro.
Really?
I'm missing something.
You should be able to just open it as a message and just play it there.
Opened it as a message, clicked on the video, played the video. It gets large, and it's not in stereo.
Is there another button on the video that you can tap on? Sometimes there's a button in the top right hand corner that looks like the panorama thing. I'll jump in now. I've been away from my device, so I haven't had a chance to look at it, but I can take a look at it now.
That's really weird. Hang on. Just
Okay, I'm looking at the message. There's a video. There's a play button. I play, and it plays in that little window.
Oh, okay. That's
I
the
can
problem.
download it.
No, that's the problem. If it
But I
plays,
can't stop it.
right. So
Right.
Rob, okay. If you play it in the message stream, it'll play non-stereo. So you have to tap kind of not on the triangle, but on the side, and there it should definitely be stereo.
On the side.
Like the play triangle, right? If you touch that, it just plays in.
I can't touch it. I can just click it.
Yeah, but what? Okay, so you're looking at the video of the lizard, right?
No, I'm looking at the train station. I don't see where the lizard is.
Okay.
I saw the lizard. I don't know what happened to it.
But what? Okay, but you're in the message.
Oh, I got it. Okay, now I see the lizard. All right.
So you see there's a circle with a triangle in it on its face, right?
Yeah.
Don't look at that and pinch. Look at the lizard image, but not on that. That should open it up spatially.
Ah. Okay.
Isn't that
Well,
weird?
that's not intuitive.
No. Brandel, tell the guys to fix it. We have a thing. Sorry,
Well,
that was a bit,
yeah, that's bad.
If only there were other ways, right?
sorry, a bit of an aside there.
That even has a pulse button. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's much better. All right, I get it. I would not have guessed that.
No, I wouldn't have guessed it either. It was accidental. I've managed to do it before, and now suddenly it didn't work, so click everywhere. Right. Yeah, I apologize for the detour, but Randall was here, so of course, we a little bit of vision stuff. Okay, so in order to deal with the question at hand of what to see when you open it up, actually, let me share screen with you guys. This might help. Hang on. We can go back to the slides we've been discussing before for our designs. Just open them. So the problem is I use Keynote for too much. Yeah, because we had things like this. You can all see, right? We had things like this where you open up a document that looks like a PDF, whether it is PDF or HTML, for the sake of discussion is a bit irrelevant. But where specific aspects of it, like a table of contents and notes, appear connected to it. Because one of the things we want to be able to do is write annotations, right? So, Dene,
Yes.
are you thinking about this kind of a look, or are you thinking more this kind of a look?
I don't want it to look like a PDF on the side. I want it to be able to spread out and be a document. Or spread out so I can see text.
Yeah, because we had, where is it now? Because we had all these different layout options. Here was one. And then we had one with many pages, because that's how it works in Reader iOS now, Vision and iOS. It's actually kind of interesting, even on iOS, to have the all the pages open, so you move through them smoothly. Yeah. So you see the one at the bottom here, right? Excuse me while I move. Is this kind of the thing you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Andrew, what do you think?
Is that possible, Andrew?
I have no idea. Probably. I don't think the HTML export has page numbers.
I don't
I
want
could arbitrarily choose where the pages end, I suppose.
Yeah, this would definitely be for sorry, not definitely, would probably be for the sorry, I'm just going to connect to share here. Yeah, this would probably be PDF is what I'm trying to say. Sometimes it takes a bit of time to mirror. Okay, you can see the screen as before, right? So let me just go somewhere more pleasant.
Are you trying to share something with us? Because we're looking at the slideshow still.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Uh,
I see that you're looking like you're trying to get inside something, but we're looking at the slideshow.
that's really weird. I was I was sharing my screen here. Let me try that again.
So we see your whole screen now. It's got a number of
Now we
apps
see
up
it.
on it.
Do you
There we
see?
go.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, good. So I'm just gonna have to sit sideways. The mirror makes it think like I'm there, so that's not a good thing. And let's leave this tiny little hotel room. Right, so in Reader now, the way this works is, let's open this one, for instance. So if I just tap, I have this, and now it's set to be one page. You know, so we can do something like this. So that's all quite beautiful, but it is very one page. Now, if I go well, it's, you know, two page like this. We go through it this way, and then finally, I'm going to make the window really big. This is the biggest I'm allowed to make it. But now we have this.
Mm-hmm.
This is closer to what we're talking about, right, Dene?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we need to work on selecting text. I find that difficult to get done in text here.
Yeah.
Of course, it's different. So this is what we have with author. So author is obviously text, which would be the equivalent of HTML for our current discussion. And I can make the window massive, but there's an odd little bug I need to. Right, so you see, here is text, and then we have the outline on the right. This is what I was thinking about for our view, where we can have things sticking out of the document to quickly jump around it.
So one thing that might be worth thinking about, Frode, because this is really nice. But you currently have this. This currently works.
Yeah.
It might be a little silly to make this same kind of thing again, just in WebXR. Obviously, it would still be a bit different, but um, since this is like a use case for what you're envisioning, I wonder if it would be worth experimenting with something else for the WebXR version. I don't know. I'm fine either way. I know for now just opening up a bunch of pages is within scope either way, but just thought it was worth bringing up.
That's a great point, Andrew, and I'm wondering if because this is considered proprietary software reader, right?
No,
Which is fine.
it can be open sourced, but it's based on VisionOS, which is the issue. So the software itself is not proprietary. Sorry, Dina, just
Author costs money.
currently.
Author costs money, and so we are looking at open, nothing costing anything for the Sloan project. That doesn't mean this is not fantastic. So we have this works. This can work in this space. It's fantastic. It's exactly what I'm imagining. So yay. But I'm wondering if maybe we can get rid of the breadcrumbs. Andrew, is that what you're suggesting? Go straight into text floating in space?
No, but hang on a second. On this really important topic, I think we should really focus on XR doing the best that XR is, and of course we're learning what that is. And also it is in the Sloan Foundation spec to integrate with Reader and Author as example external applications. And now Fabian is getting ready to integrate with his stuff, which is very good. And then Adam will be integrating with his stuff, which is very good. So one of the ways I see it, Dini, is my proprietary software. You're reading something like this and it's too much. So on the top here, there's a button. You click that and then it goes into Andrew's work to see it connected in a library. So it's a different thing, same data, but it does a different purpose. This is optimized for incredible reading because the vision gives us that. But the XR is optimized for seeing the connections. The thing that is exciting about what you talked about last Wednesday, this pulling things out thing that I think is really, really important, may be the key thing of reading like this in WebXR, the fact that you can do that. I haven't been able to figure out selections good enough in Vision yet. So annoying. Anyway, I don't think it's black and white. I think different environments need to talk to each other, and we need to make clear what it is. That's it, really. I'm just going to try a different selection on this. There we go. See, that's obviously really important that you can select the text. In the scan books, you can't do that. So, Dene, obviously what you're saying is completely 100% the point. I'm wondering though, maybe for a bit we should focus on the library in XR, because that's unique and that's not going to be here in any way, and see how far we can take that, so we can have views of you select the document and you can see who cites it and all of that stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
No, I'm just arguing with you and myself here. I just don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what this space is. I don't have any strong opinions.
Let's turn to Andrew. Andrew, in the direction you're going, what would be the next logical step for you to produce?
I mean,
Based
the
on hearing what
close-up,
we're talking about.
yeah, the close-up view distance is the next thing I'm focusing on. But the viewing the PDF is definitely right after that.
Mhm.
And I can make that in whatever form you guys decide. I was simply bringing up the idea that perhaps we have a little bit more creative freedom in the direction that we want to think about taking it, since we now see the current suggestion working inside of the Vision with Frode software. I'm fine with developing something similar. I was just throwing it out there that we have a lot of sort of experimental freedom in this project, as opposed to you have Reader. It needs to be polished. It needs to do what it's designed to do, without just like adding a feature. Ah, we don't like it, take it away. We have that freedom here. Time limiting. I had no real point. I was just opening up a different type of discussion, since we might be overlooking stuff.
It is a very important discussion, though. I mean, Dini, I actually don't know if I charge for Reader right now, but Reader is Reader for Vision, iOS, and Mac. I'm completely willing to open source the whole thing. Author is a bit more complicated in that sense. I know it's still on a proprietary platform. It's not built on open code. But the code itself is one thing. But I do think that what annoys me, what argues against my point, is Dini standing in a room, pulling out a piece of text and putting it somewhere else in XR space. That's going to be really difficult, I believe, for Reader to do in VisionOS. That's going to be relatively possible in WebXR. So that's such a strong use case for what you're saying, that we should actually have the proper PDFs or PDF looking things in WebXR.
I'm just also thinking, I'm trying to think of the more global experience. So imagine I'm not just going to be reading, right? The point of the main point I made in the case study that you read is that reading is not separate from writing for me, for academics, right? You read something and you're scribbling on the book, you're underlining things, you're making notes on the computer. I mean, reading is not just reading. I have never been able to pick up an academic article and just read it without marking the daylights out of it. And the same goes for even novels. I've underlined most of the novels in my library. So my big question then is, our reader and author go hand in hand, right? They're meant to be kind of counterparts to each other. Is that true? So if we adopt Reader, which I think is a very superior product, and it works well with the Vision Pro, and it's open, it's free, then I want to do stuff beyond just reading. I want to actually do the writing. Can we do the writing on top of Reader that's not author so that people don't have to buy author? And can we put Reader on GitHub, or at least the WebXR stuff on GitHub? Because we promised that in the Sloan. I went back and read the Sloan Foundation stuff yesterday because I was having to fill out paperwork for the university. And we have the GitHub site and we made that open. Right. So that's now open. So what can be open in the GitHub site? Is it just the WebXR? Is Reader open in GitHub? I don't know. And probably not author, because that's you're making money off of it. I think you're doing really well with author right now, right? Daily?
Yes, I'm making. I used to make something like maybe $20 to $40 a day, and now it's between 500 and 700 a day.
Yeah,
It's
that's a
not
lot
that,
of money to give up.
it's a lot of money, and that's money it's all going to go back into coding for itself. However, it's not going to last forever. I'm getting this because of the being featured in the App Store. So
Yeah.
it's nice for the moment. But in terms of workflow, for my own environment of Reader Author, just like on the Mac, you can copy from a Reader document and paste an author, and it'll paste as a citation. I'm working on having that in Vision Pro, so you can be reading a section in a PDF. There's an option to either copy or copy quotes, and then you can go across to author and paste it. It should do the same thing. That is, of course, clipboard visual meta. So that should work in and out of XR. That should work everywhere. And I think that's an important component. You should be able to be in the WebXR environment, copy something, and go to any software and paste it as a quote.
Here's a question. Would it be possible to do what a lot of app developers do, and that's make a stripped down version that's free that seduces people to buy the paid version? And so the stripped down, let me finish, the stripped down version would be the one we use in this, that's like free. Then they like it so much and they want to use it on their desktop. They buy the version that is the $20 version. I think it's 20, right?
Yes.
Yeah, $20.
Yes, it's $20, and yes, it's possible to do that. And yes, I have done that. There is a an author basic, which has everything except export as PDF. That's what people quite literally pay for. All of those things I'm very happy to entertain discussions over. I'm not a business person, I'm getting a little bit of income now to pay for coding. This is not going to be an empire. But I do think it is also very useful to have external things we integrate with, including Fabian, what Adam will be building, and author and reader externally, because that's how we make an ecosystem, obviously.
Well, I also want to go on record saying that I have no trouble with you making money off your software. And I think that the more money you make, the more you can throw into your programming and do the things that you're doing. So I'm not anti-capitalist in that perspective. So, that's great. I'm really glad for you. And you deserve it. All right. For the project, the dumbed down version that's free would be ideal, because then we can meet the standards of our promise to the Sloan Foundation, cut some time out of our production by using these documents. But I do think we're going to want to make sure that they talk together in this environment, so that what I'm doing in my reading we can bring in the author at the same time, if that's possible.
Yeah, no, that's really, really important. I mean, a third of Sloan is metadata. And that is exactly what you're talking about now. There is the kind of metadata that's at the back of the document. There's the kind of metadata that's transferred with JSON. There's also the kind of metadata that is in a clipboard when you copy and paste. So that is absolutely crucial. There's no question about that. And one of the things that I think will be really, really important, and Brandel, this is something we talked about on Monday, all of us, and mentioned briefly earlier today, is I'm joking, instead of having a PDF, we should have SDF. And that's not a new file format, that is packaging current standards, USD and so on. So that one of the basic things you can do is that the back of a PDF in an appendix have 3D spatial information about the document. This is, and that's why it's good to have external software, because like reader and author is made by two different teams. And that's because if it was made by one team or one person, they would inadvertently cheat. This is a way to guarantee that the metadata works. So that's the same approach that I'm looking at here, that Andrew is doing input output and someone else is doing input output. And in the dialogue, we figure out something that works. So what we do with Reader, I think is relatively inconsequential. It's not a big piece of software. We can probably do exactly what you're saying, Dene. I think what is more exciting is the notion of being in Reader or equivalent, pressing a button, that stuff goes into WebXR Underworld. All the metadata is there, and we can see the connective stuff.
Okay.
Because right now,
That sounds good. And I need to tell you that Andrew and I got to go to the other lab meeting now at 10. So we're going to take off.
yes.
Andrew, do you have clear instructions about what you're doing next?
Yeah, I've got pretty clear on what I'm doing next. I have less clear what I'm doing after that, but that'll be a discussion for next week.
Well,
And I've got a general direction, so we're fine.
okay, but briefly, in closing then, to make sure we are on the same wavelength on that, next week you're going to be, when something is opened, it'll be in a focus area. If something was in the focus area, it's moved back a bit. That's the number one thing to do for next
Right.
week.
Yep, that's what I'm working on. The focused area bit, it might just be either it'll be the citation block that already exists, or it'll be just like the abstract or something simple just to sort of prove it works.
Yes, and I think for now, because we have to figure this out, what is opened is the abstract. Just because
most is Grammarly free.
just because we have it, and then the references below it or to the right, whatever suits you easily, what makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
good. And then we will deal with the how to make it PDF-ish very, very soon. Peter.
Yeah, I just want to note that in the sidebar, I had suggested before that we invite Curtis Hickman to participate in the symposium. He is a magician by training who worked as a VR developer at The Void, and his idea of hyperreality is mixing physical experiences with VR, but a lot of his work will also work purely in XR and VR by leveraging psychological insights on how the human brain works. So he'd be a really great person if we could get. And also, I left a link to David L. Small's dissertation from his work at MIT on rethinking the book, and that'd be a really good selection for the book club.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here.
He'd be a great person to invite too.
Yeah, my brain is gone. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Could you please email me those two so I have it as a proper backup? They're absolutely brilliant to put on the list.
Okay, sure thing.
Thank you. Brandel, while you are here, that last bit of discussion was interesting because, we all see where we're going. Hang on a second. Oh, what's happening to my connection?